Hey everybody, my name is Kim Cooper and I'm here to talk to you today about 3 tips that you can use to stay sane when everybody else around you seems to be going insane or the world seems to be going insane. Um, my I took a break from Facebook this weekend. I did a total social media fast for the entire weekend from Friday night till Monday morning. A lot of my friends on Facebook are people who the things that have happened in the US over the last week either directly affect or they work with populations of people that are directly affected by some of the things that have been going on in the US over the last week. And so they are understandably very stressed, very worried, very angry, very fearful, and they're posting a lot of stuff. And I found that I barely made it through last week without being really stressed out myself. And I have some strong points of view about some of the things that are going on as well. So I decided that I was going to take a break from Facebook for the weekend, and I cannot tell you how great it was. I felt like I wasn't constantly being bombarded with things that shook my nervous system up and got me worried. Now, that doesn't mean when I say that, and I had a really hard time getting off of Facebook because my desire to stay aware and stay informed was kind of, contradicting this desire to just go hide in a hole for the weekend and pretend that things weren't going on. But what it really did was gave me some time to reset my nervous system, to calm down, to think about some things other than what was going on Facebook. And it was really, really good for me. So my first tip to staying sane is just take a break from social media for however long feels right to you. Maybe you start out with, if you're on it all the time, maybe you start out with an hour. Maybe you start out with a day. Maybe you start out with 2 days. One of the interesting things I noticed when I took a break was how much extra time I had. Friday night, I sat down to put I have 2-year-old twin boys, and I was putting them to sleep, and I always scroll through my feed as I'm putting them to sleep. And as I sat there, I was kind of like, what do I do now? So I caught up on emails, I caught up on a bunch of videos, and I noticed how much more time I had to do other things when I wasn't on Facebook. So that was nice. And the other thing I noticed was how much I'm on it that I don't realize that I'm on it. Saturday afternoon, I was having lunch by myself, and I went to pull my phone out, and I thought, oh, I can't look at Facebook. What do I do now? And I put the phone back in my pocket, and I actually enjoyed my surroundings. I paid attention. I talked to the bartender. I was sitting right next to the bar, so I talked to the bartender. I talked to the server. I talked to people instead of just having my head buried in the phone. But I really noticed how much better it felt not being on the live news feed all the time. And I think what I'm going to do from here on out moving forward, because I do want to stay aware and I do feel like I missed things over the weekend. So I'm going to pick a couple of people that I know are informed and are aware and watch the kind of stuff that I would be interested in. And I'm just going to go look at their news feed rather than continually scrolling through. So that's tip 1. Tip 2 is if you're feeling really kind of frazzled and frantic and like there's so much that you want to be doing over this period of time and there's just not enough time, the best advice I have for you is to actually do the opposite of what it feels like you should do and slow down. Yesterday, I found myself feeling like I had a million things to do and I was getting really frazzled that I couldn't get to any of them. So the first thing that I did was I stopped and I did a few minutes of mindful meditation. If you're not familiar with meditation or with mindfulness, all you have to do is stop and take 3 deep breaths and pay attention to your breathing. Or stop for a minute and just close your eyes, focus on your breathing or focus on the sounds around you. Focus on anything that will help to keep you present in this moment. Because oftentimes when our nervous system gets agitated and our brain gets all out of control, there's much more technical definitions for that. We'll just leave it at that for right now. It's because our thoughts are focused on the past or on the future, and we're not paying attention to the present moment right now. And oftentimes, unless you're in a really desperate situation, the present moment is okay. Everything that's happening to you right now you're okay. But it's those worries about things that have happened in the past that we can't change, or things that might happen in the future that get us really upset. I often say that two of the most dangerous phrases in the English language are what if and if only. If only I had done this, or what if this happens? Because none of them are happening in the present moment, and they get us out of the present moment and thinking about things that we don't have the control to change right now. Right now, the only thing you can control and the only thing you can change is what's happening in the present moment. My third tip is find something that makes you happy. And I know this might, again, seem really counterintuitive, especially to some of those of you who are being affected by things that are happening, are feeling the pain and suffering about what is happening to some of either your family, your friends, your colleagues, the people you work with. So in some ways, I know it feels like, wow, why would I want to go out and be happy when so many other people are suffering? But your suffering doesn't alleviate their suffering, and somebody has to maintain and keep the light on for everybody. If we all follow each other down to the bottom of the barrel, there's going to be nobody left to hold the rest of us up. So, take your time, rejuvenate yourself when you need to, find something that makes you smile, find something that makes you happy. I know I really struggled with this yesterday. I bought my husband for Christmas this special beer tasting dinner. And we're at this dinner and I'm eating and I'm really full and I feel like I should stop eating. But I keep on eating. And then I think about this thing I saw on Facebook, which was talking about this woman whose sister is a refugee, and her family of 5 they go 5 days without eating, and they just had a baby and she can't nurse the baby because she's so malnourished herself. And she wrote that, this makes me want to cry just thinking about it, that they're feeding this little baby pieces of rice because that's all they have, and they know that she's not going to live on the pieces of rice, but they can't stand to watch her starve to death. And then here I am eating this meal that I'm too full to continue eating. And it really made me sad for a minute, and it really made me stop and think. And the one thing it did, it made me so grateful for my life now. Like, I think about the things that I complain about, and it's really, my problems are not problems compared to what other people are going through. But that doesn't mean that I have to feel guilty about it. And that doesn't mean that just because someone else is suffering, I have to suffer. So what I've come up with to help me get through times like those, when I'm thinking about something that's really bothering me and it feels like I don't have any way to change it right then, or I don't have any way that I can help the people. Yes, like in that situation, I made myself really sad and kind of miserable thinking about somebody else that was suffering, but my feelings didn't help that person that was suffering right then. So then what I decided to do today was ask, what can I contribute to this situation today? What is something that I can actually do, and what is something that I can contribute? And if you've done any work with me, you know that I teach to ask a question and then don't necessarily go searching for the answer. So it's not like I say to myself, what can I contribute to this situation? And then I go trying to figure out what I can contribute. I ask the question and then I give it some time and kind of see what shows up in my awareness, and see if something comes up that I hadn't necessarily thought about before. So, I decided today that I'm going to make some phone calls, and I'm going to do what I think I can to help create the change that I would like to see. And the change that I would like to see may not be the change that you would like to see, and that's okay. It's just, what can you contribute to make you feel better about the situation, or to kind of alleviate your fears or your worries about what's going on. And then once you've contributed that, it doesn't do anybody any good to stay in fear about it, to stay angry about it. Like, yes, continue. I'm not in any way saying sit around and don't do anything. But what I'm saying is, once you've contributed what you can contribute, then go do something that makes you happy. Go do something that uplifts you. Go do something that nourishes you. Because if your well is dry, and if you are so spent and upset that you can't help anybody else, that doesn't do anybody any good. And if we're all living from a place of fear, and we're all living from a place of anger, my belief is that hope creates more change. That belief and creates more change than fear can ever create. So those are my 3 tips to you. If you feel like kind of everybody is losing their minds around you, or the world seems to be taking this turn that you thought would never happen, those are my 3 tips. Limit some of your social media exposure if you can. Slow down, take some time for some mindfulness or some meditation, some breathing, just some awareness. One thing I forgot to mention with that point is notice when you're feeling really agitated. Notice where you feel that in your body. Notice if your breath is short. Notice if your chest is tight. And then just do some breathing into that space. And oftentimes when we're in a space where we feel really bad, we just want to kind of push the feelings away or push right through them. And a lot of times a physical sensation in our body will only last about 90 seconds. So if you're noticing that your chest is really tight, breathe into that space and see if in about 90 seconds the physical sensation doesn't lessen a little bit. And then it's our choice about how we continue from there. Do we continue with the story? Do we go into what if or if only? Or do we try and be a positive contribution? And then once we've contributed all we can, then, we take a step back and take care of ourselves. And that's the third thing, is taking care of yourself, doing something to nourish you, doing something to make yourself happy. So those are my 3 tips for today. You can find me at beingkimcooper.com. I'm actually working on coming up with some sort of either online class or local class. I'm here in the Pittsburgh area. To talk about some of these things and to teach some mindfulness tips and tools that can help you learn how to nurture yourself. So if you're interested in any of that, please comment below or get in touch with me. And I hope you have a great day. And my last comment is be the change you want to see in the world, whatever that change may be. Have a great day.